I think Justin Trudeau may have actually had his worst week yet. It's not even a full week. I'm going to start this off last Friday when he said this about bankers and the economy.
This school food program. And I take a little bit of issue with what you said about what the economy needs. What the economy needs is for people to be able to afford their groceries. What the economy needs is people to be able to be optimistic about the future we're building with good jobs, good opportunities for their kids. We're focused on Canadians. I'll let the bankers worry about the economy. We're focused on building opportunities for kids.
So look, just to be blunt, I'm not even sure he can fully understand or fully articulate what the economy is. The economy needs productivity. I don't know, like he uses the word economy just interchangeably with the word country maybe, but Canada needs productivity. As I'll show here with this chart, I'm going to bring this up a couple times throughout the video. Look at Canada's GDP per capita compared to the United States. U.S. average, 81.6. Canada, 54.9. Poorest state in America, 51,420. Canada is poorer than the second poorest state of West Virginia. That's the economy. You can talk about it in other ways if you want, but at a fundamental level, the economy is the market value of the goods and services you're producing. It's not like feelings or whatever the heck, all the other things. You just chuck the word economy when you're just trying to talk about whatever you want to. Now, the second thing that happened, this was later that day on Friday, Montreal riots, and he was also seen at the same time partying at a Taylor Swift concert. This actually broke international news. Ben Shapiro in the States covered this. Watch this here.
Justin Trudeau, while the city of Montreal was being burned by pro-Hamasniks, he was partying at a Taylor Swift concert like a little girl, because he is, in fact, a little. So here was Justin Trudeau making the most of his time in the Taylor Swift crowd, looking for all the world like a man who is, shall we say, comfortable with his sexuality. Look at this pathetic. He's so pathetic. At the Eras tour. What a sad man. What a sad, and how sad for Canada. Seriously, it's no wonder that Pierre Poilievre is going to knock the living out of him in the next election.
So yeah, that was happening. That was, I think, actually like a terrible look for Canada. I saw, by the way, even like the leader of Shopify commenting this, who I don't think talks about politics that much. And I also saw just major people on X commenting on the riots in Montreal who aren't really that political, being like, what the hell is happening in Canada? And I'm right there with them. It's just such a bad look. I think it's impossible to ignore at this point. Following it on this bad week, look at this poll that came out recently. I believe this was yesterday. I mean, this is the worst one yet. This is the worst poll perhaps in Canadian history. I'm not exactly sure, but it'd be very close. Conservatives, 47%. Liberals, 17. NDP, 17. So even if you put them together, they're still 13 points behind the Conservatives, double digits combined. I mean, there should be an election right now because that is like, again, that's like a cartoonish lead for the Conservatives. 30 points. Yes, it's one poll, but it's not that out of line with other polls. And then another thing, it's not exactly Trudeau, but this comment, again, yesterday from Chrystia Freeland, we're just getting maybe to the middle of this bad week for Trudeau. This comment is absurd about the vibe session.
The disconnect between the positive news that the numbers are showing about
what positive news, though?
The Canadian economy and what people are feeling. He talked about how Canadians are feeling. And that's a really important economic point. A lot of economists have been talking about the vibe session.
Which economist? This is not a thing in Canada. USA could actually argue about a vibe session. Like for a Kamala voter, I don't agree with that. They have way better economic data to point to. Canada, we can't do this. There's no rosy way to paint the picture in Canada. Any person under the age of 40 or any person trying to buy a home, any person basically that's not rich can tell you that homes are way too expensive, wages are way too low.
The fact that Canadians just aren't feeling good and that is having real economic consequences. And the Canadian economists making that point are right.
They're not. I mean, this is actually so insulting. There's no vibe session. It's just terrible economics. Again, America maybe could spin this and you would, like Canada, we can't be, oh my goodness. It's just there's no good economic data. The reason people feel bad is because the economy is bad.
That there is a disconnect between the real economic, the really positive economic news, the fact that the Canadian economy does appear set for a soft landing. That's good news, but Canadians aren't feeling it, and that is.
Again, a soft landing only applies to rich people. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't care about a soft landing for the stock market or things like this. Or if you're just living a job where you, work 40 hours a week, come home, have 2 roommates, or live in the basement suite of your parents' house, you don't care about a soft landing. You don't. The concept of soft landing wouldn't even register in your head. For most Canadians right now, with the situation, it wouldn't.
Shaping their economic behavior in ways that are not great for the Canadian economy. People have been talking about a vibe session and how that is a challenge for the Canadian economy.
Again, it's actually insulting to the intelligence of a Canadian. Again, I'm going to bring this chart up for the second time. This is the vibe session. No, it's just objectively true that we're way behind America. And by the way, it's not like we could say, "Oh, we're actually on a rocket ship. We're catching America." We used to be way closer to America. Look at this chart here. In 2012, coming out of the 08 financial crisis, there was a year actually we were ahead of America. Look at this: Canada 52,200, America 50,000 roughly. That's 2011. But even in 2012, so 2 years. Even in 2012, we had more productivity per person than America. Notice that, adjusted for inflation, we've essentially been flat for over 10 years. Look at this, 52, and then now 52. Look at that. For the last 12 years, right now we're at 53,371. Again, on that chart, 54.9, that's very close to be pretty reliable. America, 81.6. So how can we say we're in a vibe session? We're obviously not. And the other thing, to make matters even worse, late last night, Donald Trump said he's going to put a 25% tariff on Canadian and Mexican imports into the United States if we don't sort out our border problem. If I had to bet right now, I'd say this probably won't happen, but it might. If I don't know exactly what the metrics are Donald Trump wants on the border, but it is definitely a wake-up call to Canada. So let's hear Trudeau talking about this.
Bonjour tout le monde. I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth. We talked about some of the challenges that we can work on together. It was a good call. This is something that we can do, laying out the facts, moving forward in constructive ways. This is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do. One of the really important things is that we be all pulling together on this. The Team Canada approach is what works. That's where, putting aside partisanship, that's where I reached out immediately to Doug Ford to agree with him that we would have a First Ministers meeting this week to talk about the United States. Talked with François Legault and some other premiers as well. There's work to do, but we know how to do it.
So look, I don't even mind Justin Trudeau's statement there. That was certainly better than his speech about the economy and how he's going to let bankers worry about the economy, whatever that is even supposed to mean. But I think a massive problem for Trudeau at the moment, Trump's first term when Trudeau was in office, you could probably argue, I don't know if I would agree with this, but you could probably argue that the vibes, to use Chrystia Freeland's word, were kind of on Trudeau's side. At least if you take the entire world's general view on Trudeau and Trump, Trudeau probably had more public popularity in the world than Trump did. I would argue that's actually flipped now, and probably the vibes are more about Donald Trump. So when he goes around being like tariff this, tariff that, and just in general, I do think Donald Trump is going to have basically a lot more kind of free reign from the public, at least, to implement some of his policies. Maybe that'll even be, hopefully not, but it could be to the detriment of Canada, because I do think the public in general, he won the popular vote. I think there's shifting sentiment across Europe and stuff like that, just to be more populist. I think Trump has a good chance to implement more of his policies, even more than he did last time in this term. I don't think that bodes very well for Trudeau. And again, just looking at the data, the fact that, Trudeau's polling way behind. Trump just won the popular vote. I think Trudeau is definitely going to be negotiating from a position of weakness on this. So anyway, with that said, I'll finish the video here. But I do think Trudeau had a lot of bad weeks in a row. This might have been the worst one I've seen, actually. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.